So I've been reading a very interesting book, and I'm still picking my way through it. So I haven't finished it. Called "The User Illusion" by a Danish science journalist by the name, which I'm about to butcher. So my sincere apologies. Tor Niratrandas. I think I nailed that. Um, and he looks at the science of the physics and the maths research that has been going on for the last 150 years or so into the nature of consciousness and trying to understand it and to measure it from a scientific perspective, from the position of the hard sciences of maths and physics. And the lens that I want to explore some of this really interesting text, and I do encourage you to check it out if you want to. It can be a little bit heavy to start with. It was for me, because I'm not massively sciencey based, particularly in the fields of physics and maths, I'm afraid to say. But he does try and make it as accessible as possible. But there's lots of very interesting realizations in there from these fields and the research that's been done through the decades on this. And the thing that I want to sort of focus on, the theme of today, is the fact that our communication is mostly unsaid. And this comes from the fact that we take in, and the receptors of our body, the sensory receptors, our sight, our ears, our skin, our nose, etc., our taste buds, are receiving in total in the region of 11 million bits of information every second. 11 million bits, which is a fairly massive amount. The world's a big place. There's lots going on, even in this little space that I'm sat in, staring at a camera, talking to you. There is 11 million bits of data, more or less, give or take, being received into the sensors, the sensory organs, the nerves of my body, and being fired up into my brain. The really interesting thing is that our consciousness, our active, focused attention, our awareness of being aware, can only process somewhere in the region of 10 bits per second. So that's a million times less data being processed in our active consciousness than is going on around us. That's a pretty weighty conclusion. And it's been repeated through numerous scientific experiments across the decades, and appears to be at the moment, as far as science goes, because science is always being updated, right? It is the field of exploration. And a theory only stands as long as it is successfully tested, until something else supersedes it. So this is the position here and now, to the best of my knowledge. But yeah, so that's a massive difference between all the data that's around us, all the data that's actually coming into us, and then the data that's actually being processed by our conscious mind, the data that we can actually focus on being aware of consciously, directly aware of. So what does this mean for our communication? Well, it means that actually what's happening is that information is essentially discarding everything that we know or we think we know. So what happens is, when we find something that we are confident of, and this is typically all subconsciously happening, right? This is not a conscious process, but we disregard the known. So when we're describing a situation to each other, and I think for my preamble, if you saw it on social media, I used the example of describing a cow in a field. So if I say to you, I have just seen a cow in a field, then you will imagine a cow and you will imagine a field, but you won't imagine my cow in my field. And I won't take the trouble to explain to you what a cow is, because I will assume as a known that you already know what a cow is, and that our understanding of a cow is more or less the same. And the same with the field. I will assume that you understand what a field is, so I won't need to describe what a field is, and I probably won't go into much detail, if any at all, about what's in the field or what it looks like. But what will happen in my mind and in the mind of the person that I'm communicating with is that all these other thought processes will kick in and imagine that field. So repopulate missing information that's deemed to be sufficiently important. We don't like gaps, right? If I tell you I'm moving house, you might have never seen my house and you won't know where I'm moving to, but you will automatically imagine some kind of experience of where I live now, and you will imagine the experience of where I might be living in the future. And our minds do this all the time. And this is really important to realize. And it might sound, and this is always the way of these things, right? They sound obvious and in a sense intuitive. And you, well, duh, obviously I don't know what your house looks like, and my brain creates a picture, but we don't behave or act typically like that's going on. What we imagine, we allow to be real to us.